Good day, everyone. This is Paramjit Kaur from University Utara, Malaysia. I will be presenting my paper on examining roles and effects of peer and instructor feedback on L2 writing. In order to develop L2 writing skills, feedback is essential for the L2 learner. Traditionally, instructor feedback was the focus to help L2 learners develop their writing skills. However, over the years, peer feedback has been successfully integrated in the language classroom. The overview of the paper, the focus is actually to look at the roles and effect of peer and instructor feedback on graduate students' writing development. Investigate graduate students' attitudes towards peer and instructor feedback roles. Explore effects of feedback on writing quality and development. Peer feedback basically is students providing oral or written comments on drafts of their friends. And there are dual benefits of peer feedback: improves recipients' work as well as the giver's evaluation skills. Also promotes self-regulation and critical thinking. Peer feedback also enhances content organization and vocabulary acquisition, provides non-threatening and immediate collaboration. It has also been shown to foster responsibility, motivation, and problem solving among students. However, there are some negative aspects related to peer feedback. One of them is actually the inconsistent quality due to the lack of expertise of training of the students themselves. Sometimes there may be superficial or unreliable comments that hinder revisions. Acceptance varies. Anonymous feedback may be overly critical. For instructor feedback, this is actually the authoritative guidance on grammar and organization, and normally given by the instructor in the classroom. It facilitates peer activities via rubrics and monitoring, balances peer input, ensures constructive environment, targeted clarifying misconceptions, especially in writing, promotes some substantial textual changes, and these days a lot of instructor feedback uses electronic formats, which actually reduce the time burden of the instructors. However, there are some negative aspects related to instructor feedback. Among these are it's time intensive, especially for large classes. Acceptance depends on delivery and student receptivity, right? Because sometimes some instructors they are quite late in giving back the feedback. Also, potential overload without peer integration. Okay, the methodology of this study is an exploratory qualitative approach using semi-structured interviews. 19 master's students enrolled in an ELT program were involved. 18 were females and 1 male in a Malaysian public university. The peer feedback activity was conducted with rubrics, followed by the instructor feedback as well. So the methodology: data collection, 9 interview questions on experiences giving and receiving feedback done with the students, and also they were required to post a critical review assessment on a pre-selected article. So all the interviews were audio recorded, transcribed, and member checked for accuracy. The data analysis, thematic analysis of the interview transcripts. Two themes emerged, which will be discussed in this study: roles and the effects of peer and instructor feedback. And these two themes were linked to the literature for validation. So the finding theme 1 is the roles of feedback. Two of the respondents, R1 and R14, they claim that the peer feedback was exciting, challenging, and identifies improvements for them. As for the instructor feedback, keeps them on track with rubrics and authoritative. And all 19 participants actually overall valued both types equally, the peer feedback as well as the instructor feedback. So here, these are some of the excerpts from the interviews. So R3 peers helped identify missed points, follow rubrics. Peers understand learner problems better, and the effectiveness depends on peer trustworthiness. So these were comments about the lecturer feedback. So lecturer feedback keeps task on track, formal from lecturer, informal from peers, and more is actually better according to the respondent. Consensus is both types of feedback are essential, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses. So the finding 2, the theme, effects on writing, general improvement in revisions, rubric adherence. So these two respondents claim that the comfortable and useful for assignments. No direct causation was stated, only indirect benefits on writing were found from the interviews. So the key findings here is actually peer feedback and instructor feedback seem to be complementary. Peers are looked at as giving informal feedback and more collaborative in nature, whereas instructors are deemed to be experts, and it's actually the feedback is claimed to be formal. And both the different types of feedback from peers and instructor were received with positive attitudes, and structured integration enriches learning. So the findings actually align with studies in the field. So the implications of the findings, it is actually useful to incorporate structured peer feedback in L2 classes. And we need to train students to give quality feedback, and it's actually helpful to leverage on digital skills or digital tools that are available currently to integrate peer feedback. And it is hoped that future research addresses reliability of peer feedback as well as instructor feedback in improving L2 writing. And also research should also try to look at cultural factors which may actually have an effect on the feedback process, because there could be some cultures that may deem peer feedback as being inferior to instructor feedback, given how the society looks at instructors. In conclusion, peer and instructor feedback are distinct, yet they are synergistic. Both these types of feedback are necessary to develop L2 learners' competencies in writing, and they can be leveraged to develop language. And peer and instructor feedback shape engagement and helps proficiency in L2 writing. Therefore, peer feedback especially should be integrated into L2 classrooms, especially writing classrooms, so that we can engage learners better and they have more autonomy in their own writing. And the recommendations is we need to foster a balance approach in incorporating peer and instructor feedback in classrooms, and we need to train peers as well as instructors to give feedback using digital tools, which could actually enrich the feedback